The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group was transiting the Strait of Hormuz as part of a routine freedom of navigation operation, a mission the United States Navy has conducted for decades to ensure open access to international waterways. The Strait of Hormuz, at its narrowest only 21 miles wide, is the most strategically important maritime choke point on Earth. Nearly 20% of the world's daily petroleum supply, over 21 million barrels of oil, passes through this narrow stretch of water every single day. Any disruption to traffic in the strait has immediate consequences for global energy markets, international shipping, and geopolitical stability. Because of this, American carrier strike groups regularly patrol the region to deter aggression and reassure allies that the sea lanes will remain open. On this particular afternoon, the transit appeared routine on the surface. The Eisenhower, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier carrying nearly 90 aircraft and over 5,000 sailors, was accompanied by a powerful escort cruisers and destroyers equipped with the most advanced air and missile defense systems in the world. The strike group was moving through international waters, adhering strictly to established maritime law. The crew had performed similar transits countless times before, and while heightened vigilance was standard when operating near Iran's coastline, there was no immediate indication that this passage would be different from any other. Unbeknownst to the American sailors, however, Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces had been planning for this moment for weeks. Along Iran's northern coastline, stretching from Bandar Abbas to islands scattered throughout the strait, missile batteries had been carefully positioned, camouflaged, and networked into a coordinated coastal defense system. Radar stations monitored the sea and sky, tracking every vessel that entered the strait. Command centers maintained encrypted communications, waiting for the order to act. For Iran's leadership, the Strait of Hormuz represented both leverage and opportunity, a place where geography could potentially neutralize America's overwhelming naval superiority. As the Eisenhower Strike Group entered the narrowest section of the strait, Iranian coastal radar systems shifted from passive monitoring to active targeting. Radar emissions intensified, locking onto the American ships and tracking their speed, heading, and formation. Missile batteries along the coastline were quietly elevated to high alert status. Launch vehicles were powered up. Targeting data was shared across multiple Revolutionary Guard units. To Iranian commanders, the conditions appeared ideal. An American aircraft carrier confined in narrow waters, surrounded on three sides by Iranian territory, with limited room to maneuver and civilian shipping traffic complicating the battle space. From Tehran's perspective, this was the moment to attempt what had long been threatened but never executed, a direct strike on an American aircraft carrier. The goal was not merely military, but psychological and strategic. Sinking or even severely damaging a U.S. carrier would send shockwaves through global markets, undermine American credibility, and potentially force the United States to reduce its naval presence in the Persian Gulf. Iranian planners believed that a large, coordinated missile salvo launched simultaneously from multiple locations could overwhelm even advanced defenses. Speed, surprise, and saturation were the foundation of the plan. At exactly 2:41 p.m., the order was given. 6 separate Iranian coastal missile batteries, spread across approximately 70 kilometers of coastline and nearby islands, launched a total of 24 supersonic anti-ship missiles in near-perfect synchronization. Each missile was designed to skim low over the surface of the sea, reducing radar detection time, and a homing on the carrier using active radar guidance. Their warheads were capable of inflicting catastrophic damage on large warships. All 24 missiles were programmed to converge on a single target, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. From the Iranian command's viewpoint, this was the culmination of years of investment in coastal defense capabilities. The missiles roared off their launch rails, accelerating toward the strait, their trajectories carefully calculated to approach from multiple angles at once. The expectation was clear. The American defenses would be overwhelmed, at least some missiles would get through, and the carrier would be struck. In those few seconds after launch, Iranian commanders believed they had finally achieved the perfect ambush, one that would alter the balance of power in the region and demonstrate that even the world's most powerful navy was vulnerable in the confined waters of the Strait of Hormuz. What Iran did not yet realize was that this attack would instead trigger one of the most decisive demonstrations of modern naval warfare in history. Iran's meticulously planned missile strike against the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower carrier strike group quickly unraveled due to a fundamental miscalculation, the overwhelming capability of U.S. naval defenses. While the Revolutionary Guard had envisioned a flawless ambush, they underestimated the layered, multi-tier protection surrounding the carrier group. The Eisenhower was not traveling alone. It was flanked and shielded by 4 Aegis-equipped Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and 2 Ticonderoga-class cruisers, each outfitted with state-of-the-art radar, missile, and electronic warfare systems. Together, these ships formed one of the most advanced air defense networks ever deployed, capable of detecting, tracking, and neutralizing hundreds of incoming threats simultaneously. What Iran considered a narrow, confined kill zone, the Strait of Hormuz, was, in fact, a trap for the attacker rather than the target. As the first C-82 supersonic anti-ship missiles rose from the Iranian coastal batteries, the carrier strike group's sophisticated radar and sensor systems immediately detected the launches. The USS Philippine Sea and USS Normandy, both equipped with Spy-1 radar arrays, scanned the airspace across dozens of square miles, identifying precise number, trajectory, and velocity of every missile in flight. Within seconds, automated threat alerts were broadcast across the strike group, and a single phrase echoed through the command network: multiple inbound anti-ship missiles. Bearing 035, range 90 kilometers. The crew of each ship, trained to respond with split-second precision, moved from routine operations into high alert. Every defensive system, from the longest-range interceptors to close-in rapid-fire cannons, was activated. The strike group's defensive posture transformed instantly, shifting from vigilance to fully engaged combat readiness. The first layer of defense came from long-range interceptors, Standard Missile 2 SM-2 and Standard Missile 6 SM-6, systems launched in the destroyers and cruisers. These missiles were designed to engage threats far from the carrier, striking incoming C-82S while they were still high above the water and vulnerable. The SM-6, with its advanced active radar homing in long reach, intercepted the first missile approximately 80 kilometers from the carrier. An explosion lit up the horizon as debris fell harmlessly into the sea. Within seconds, successive interceptors destroyed additional incoming missiles in mid-flight, preventing them from closing the distance. The effectiveness of these long-range systems was a testament not only to advanced technology, but also to rigorous training and decades of integrated naval doctrine. By the time the remaining missiles reached 30 kilometers, the first offensive layer had already neutralized nearly half of the incoming threat. For the missiles that survived initial interception, the strike group activated mid-range defenses, including the rolling airframe missiles designed for rapid, agile engagements against sea-skimming threats. These missiles targeted the C-82S as they skimmed dangerously close to waves, a tactic intended to minimize radar detection. The destroyers and cruisers fired in coordinated volleys, calculating each missile's predicted path and intercept timing with precision that left no margin for error. Explosions erupted in synchronized bursts, scattering debris across the water and further reducing the incoming threat. By this stage, the carrier strike group's layered defensive network had already demonstrated why U.S. naval vessels are considered virtually impervious to saturation missile attacks. The final line of defense consisted of the close-in weapon systems, CIWS, including the Phalanx 20mm Gatling guns. These rapid-fire cannons, capable of firing thousands of rounds per minute, targeted any missile that had survived the previous 2 layers. As the C-82S closed within 5 kilometers of the carrier, the CIWS unleashed streams of tracer rounds in a furious defensive pattern, shredding the final missiles mere seconds from impact. Even the single missile that made it past the long and mid-range defenses was destroyed just 800 meters from the flight deck. By 2:45 p.m., all 24 Iranian missiles had been intercepted. The USS Eisenhower emerged from the engagement entirely unscathed, and every sailor on board remained safe. No ship in the strike group suffered damage, a fact that would underscore the disparity between Iranian expectations and the reality of U.S. naval power. Beyond the technology itself, the human element was equally critical. Captain Sarah Rodriguez, commanding officer of the Eisenhower, and her leadership team had drilled relentlessly for this scenario. Every sailor knew their station and function, Every system operator executed their role with split-second precision. Communication between ships was instantaneous, and the strike group's automated systems allowed for rapid decision-making far beyond what a single human operator could achieve. The combination of technology, training, and coordination ensured that Iran's carefully orchestrated ambush was not only thwarted but neutralized with near-perfect efficiency. The strike group's success would later serve as a textbook example of modern layered air and missile defense, demonstrating the effectiveness of integrated naval warfare. In the end, Iran's plan failed not due to luck, but due to misjudgment and underestimation. The attack was ambitious, meticulously planned, and designed to strike fear into U.S. forces, yet collided with decades of naval engineering, doctrine, and operational readiness. The USS Eisenhower and its escorts had proven that carrier strike groups, when properly defended, are far from vulnerable even in constrained and dangerous waterways. The incident highlighted the asymmetry of modern naval combat. A single strike group could annihilate a coordinated, multi-point attack, preserving both strategic objectives and human life. What Tehran had hoped would be a stunning victory became instead a vivid demonstration of American naval dominance and the futility of attempting to challenge it head-on in the Strait of Hormuz. While the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group successfully intercepted the last of the 24 Iranian anti-ship missiles, the battle was far from over. U.S. Central Command, monitoring the situation in real time from its headquarters in Bahrain, immediately recognized the scale and intent of the attack. This was not a random harassment. It was a coordinated, deliberate act of war, designed to cripple a flagship of the U.S. Navy and challenge freedom of navigation in one of the most strategically critical waterways in the world. The response, therefore, had to be decisive, precise, and overwhelming. Within moments, the authorization was given. An immediate counterstrike will eliminate not only the missile batteries that had fired on the carrier, but every Iranian military facility involved in supporting the assault. The American response was vast, multi-layered, and unprecedented in its speed. 5 U.S. warships, the destroyers USS Gravely, USS Leon, USS Mason, and the cruisers USS Philippine Sea and USS Normandy, received targeting data for all 6 missile batteries that had launched the attack, as well as the command centers, radar installations, and ammunition depots supporting them. At 2:46 p.m., just 5 minutes after the initial missiles were launched toward the Eisenhower, 96 Tomahawk cruise missiles streaked toward the Iranian coastline from vertical launch cells aboard the ships. Each missile carried precise, pre-programmed guidance system designed to strike multiple, hardened targets with surgical accuracy. The initial salvo was only the beginning of a comprehensive campaign aimed at eliminating Iran's ability to threaten American forces and maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz. Simultaneously, carrier-based air power joined the offensive. 16 FA 18 Super Hornets launched from the Eisenhower's flight deck, armed with AGM-154 JSOW glide bombs and AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles. Their mission was twofold: destroy Iranian coastal radar networks and further degrade the Revolutionary Guard's capacity to coordinate defenses. These aircraft were joined by 4 EA-18G Growler electronic warfare planes, flying in formation over the Persian Gulf, jamming radar signals and communications, and rendering Iranian air defenses virtually blind. The combination of cruise missiles, precision-guided bombs, anti-radiation strikes, and electronic warfare ensured that the Iranian forces had no opportunity to mount a coordinated counterattack or repair the damage as it occurred. Adding to the multi-pronged offensive, the USS Michigan, an Ohio-class nuclear-powered submarine positioned 40 miles away, launched 60 Tomahawk missiles under the same authorization. Submerged underwater, the missiles broke the surface, ignited their engines, and joined the waves of ordnance already in flight. In parallel, 2 U.S. Air Force B-52 Stratofortress bombers orbiting over the Gulf of Oman received targeting data to eliminate Revolutionary Guard facilities within an 80-kilometer radius of the Strait of Hormuz. Each bomber carried 36 GPS-guided bombs, totaling 72 additional weapons in the air, striking command centers, radar installations, naval bases, and ammunition depots. The synchronized assault from sea, air, and underwater ensured near total destruction of Iran's operational capability in the region. The strikes were executed with remarkable speed and precision. Within 90 seconds of impact, 6 Iranian coastal missile batteries were completely destroyed, their launchers obliterated, command trailers flattened, and radar systems rendered inoperative. Radar installations across the northern coast of the strait were systematically targeted by AGM-88 HARM missiles, smashing dishes, collapsing control buildings, and incapacitating operators. Revolutionary Guard command centers, once coordinating the Persian Gulf defenses, were reduced to rubble by Tomahawk strikes, severing communication and operational control. Ammunition depots storing anti-ship missiles exploded in massive chain reactions, shaking the coastline and sending fireballs visible from miles away. The entire Iranian coastal defense network, painstakingly constructed over decades at immense expense, was effectively neutralized in a matter of minutes. The human cost to Iran was significant. Estimates later confirmed that over 1,100 Revolutionary Guard personnel were killed during the counterstrikes, a combination of combatants in missile batteries, radar operators, and command staff. By contrast, the U.S. and Allied forces sustained 0 casualties. Not one aircraft, ship, or sailor was lost or even damaged, demonstrating the extraordinary effectiveness of integrated offensive and defensive planning. The strike was not merely punitive. It was a calculated, surgical operation designed to degrade Iran's ability to threaten international shipping, while preserving U.S. operational readiness in the region. By 3:19 p.m., just 38 minutes after Iran's first missile launch, Operation Iron Shield was effectively complete. 14 Iranian military facilities had been obliterated, 6 missile batteries destroyed, 8 radar installations neutralized, 4 command bunkers leveled, and 6 ammunition depots detonated. Revolutionary Guard naval bases and patrol stations along the Strait of Hormuz were also eliminated, rendering Iran incapable of mounting further attacks in the immediate term. The offensive had decisively demonstrated the asymmetric power of modern U.S. naval and air forces. 24 Iranian missiles were countered with over 300 precision-guided weapons, annihilating the entire supporting network in under an hour.